Behind every laugh, behind every simple line of ink that makes us smile, there's often a story that hurts. For generations, the Peanuts comic strip has brought warmth and nostalgia to millions. The awkward charm of Charlie Brown, the imagination of Snoopy, the wisdom of Linus, and the sass of Lucy. But what if I told you that behind those lovable characters stood a man who often felt like the loneliest person in the room? A man who filled the world with laughter, while quietly struggling to find his own? This is the heartbreaking story of Charles Schulz, the gentle genius who turned his sorrows into smiles, his loneliness into laughter, and his life into one of the most human stories ever told on paper. Charles Monroe Schulz was born on November 26, 1922, in Minneapolis, Minnesota. His world was quiet and small. His father, Carl, was a hard-working barber, and his mother, Dina, was kind but frail, often sick. From the start, Charles, or Sparky, as everyone called him, was shy, introspective, and deeply sensitive. The nickname came from a racehorse in the comic Barney Google, and it stuck for life. But even as a boy, Sparky wasn't quite like the others. While most kids played outside, he preferred to sit with a pencil and blank paper, drawing everything around him, his family, his dog Spike, the world as he imagined it. But Sparky's childhood wasn't an easy one. He was quiet, painfully shy, and often overlooked. He didn't excel in sports, wasn't popular, and often felt invisible. Teachers didn't notice him much, and classmates rarely invited him to play. It's no surprise that years later, when he drew Charlie Brown, that small, round-headed boy who could never quite fit in, he was really drawing himself. "I'm not really a sad person," Schulz once said, "but I am a person who can understand sadness." As a teenager, Schulz dreamed of becoming a cartoonist. His parents supported him, though money was tight. He studied art by correspondence courses, sending sketches by mail, learning the basics of drawing from a distance. Every week, he'd wait eagerly for his lessons to return, graded and corrected. Those small lessons gave him hope. He started submitting his comics to magazines and newspapers, convinced that somewhere, someone would notice his work. But each envelope that came back was the same rejection, over and over again. Yet he refused to give up. "A cartoonist," he once said, "is someone who never gives up, even when nobody's laughing." Then came tragedy. As Schulz's career was barely beginning, his mother's health deteriorated. Cancer. She was only in her 40s, and it broke him to watch her fade away. In 1943, just as Schulz was drafted into the U.S. Army for World War II, his mother passed away the night before he shipped out. He never got to say goodbye. That pain stayed with him for the rest of his life, quietly shaping the gentle melancholy that lived in every peanut strip in the Army. Schulz served as a machine gunner in Europe. He fought in freezing forests, endured sleepless nights, and watched friends fall. But through it all, he carried a sketchbook. Even in the darkest moments, he'd find small bits of light in drawing cartoons of soldiers. Doodles of home, glimpses of peace. After the war, he came home changed. Like so many veterans, he found it hard to adjust. But he knew one thing for sure: he wanted to draw. Schulz began working as an art instructor at a correspondence school in Minneapolis. During this time, he created a small comic called Lyall Folks, a simple series featuring children who spoke and acted like adults. The drawings were clean, minimal, and deeply human. There was something about them, something different. Local newspapers began publishing Lyall Folks, and though it was small scale, readers loved it. Soon his work caught the attention of United Feature Syndicate. They wanted to take his strip national. But there was one condition: they would rename it. Schulz hated the new name, Peanuts. He thought it sounded trivial, meaningless, even disrespectful to his characters. But he had no choice. And so, on October 2nd, 1950, Peanuts debuted in 7 newspapers across the United States. No one could have imagined what it would become. The world quickly fell in love with Charlie Brown, the gentle, secure boy who never quite succeeded but always tried again. Schulz poured himself into every panel. Charlie Brown was his alter ego, anxious, hopeful, sensitive, and endlessly earnest. "All of my loves are lost," Schulz once said. and all of my sorrows are in peanuts. When Charlie Brown's baseball team lost game after game, when Lucy pulled away the football just as he tried to kick it, those moments weren't just jokes. They were life distilled into 4 small squares. The little red-haired girl. The mysterious crush Charlie Brown could never confess to was real too. She was based on Donna Johnson, a young woman Schulz fell deeply in love with. He proposed to her, but she turned him down and married someone else. Schulz never truly got over it. For decades, he kept a lock of her hair and wrote to her occasionally, even after becoming famous. The heartbreak of losing her never left him instead. He transformed it into art. By the 1960s, Peanuts had become a global phenomenon. The comic strip appeared in thousands of newspapers across 75 countries and was translated into over 20 languages. The characters were everywhere on TV, in books, on merchandise. The first television special, A Charlie Brown Christmas, aired in 1965 and was an instant success. It captured the quiet simplicity of Schulz's philosophy that life's beauty often lies in small, sincere moments. It also featured a bold message about the true meaning of Christmas and the emptiness of commercialism. Themes that reflected Schulz's own introspection and moral compass. But behind the success, Schulz was still that quiet, introspective man who often felt misunderstood. Fame didn't make him happy. In fact, it sometimes made him lonelier. He once admitted that despite all the love and admiration from fans, he still felt isolated. His marriage to Joyce Halverson was strained. The pressures of work and the emotional distance between them slowly created a rift. Schulz was a perfectionist. He worked relentlessly, 6 days a week, alone in his studio. He drew every single Peanuts strip by hand, never using an assistant. He felt that no one else could truly understand his characters because they weren't just drawings. They were him. As years passed, Peanuts evolved into something profound. Beneath the humor, it explored themes of rejection, failure, hope, and resilience. Schulz's gentle wit carried deep truth. Charlie Brown's endless failures reminded readers that life isn't about winning, it's about trying. Snoopy's wild imagination represented freedom, the dreamer within all of us. Linus, with his blanket and philosophical musings, embodied faith and innocence. Each character carried a piece of Schulz's heart, his memories, and his inner world. By the 1980s, Charles Schulz was one of the most beloved and successful cartoonists in history. His work reached over 350 million readers daily, and his characters became timeless cultural icons. Yet, even with all the success, he remained humble. He lived quietly in Santa Rosa, California, often walking to his ice rink, the Redwood Empire, which he had built for his family and community. He still enjoyed simple pleasures, a good cup of coffee, classical music, a game of golf. But even in these peaceful years, the shadow of loneliness never fully left him. He once said, "Happiness is a warm puppy, but sadness is knowing how fleeting that warmth can be." Those words capture the very essence of who he was. A man who saw both the beauty and the fragility of life. In 1999, after nearly 5 decades of drawing Peanuts, Schulz began to feel unwell. Tests revealed colon cancer. His vision was fading, and he was too weak to continue. With deep sadness, he announced his retirement. He made it clear that no one else would ever continue Peanuts. It was his life, his voice, and when he was gone, the strip would end with him. On February 12, 2000, Charles Schulz passed away peacefully in his sleep. The very next day, newspapers across the world printed his final Peanuts strip, one he had completed weeks earlier. In it, he wrote a farewell to his readers. "Dear friends, I have been fortunate to draw Charlie Brown and his friends for almost 50 years. I could not continue without the love and support of my readers. Charlie Brown, Snoopy, Linus, Lucy, how can I ever forget them? He died never knowing that he would be mourned by millions, that fans across the globe would cry for a man they never met but felt they'd always known." Charles Schulz's legacy is not just in the laughter he created, but in the truths he revealed. Through a boy who couldn't fly a kite, a dog who dreamed of being a pilot, and a blanket-toting philosopher, He taught us that it's okay to feel small, to lose, to be uncertain because those moments are what make us human. He once said, "I have a deep sense of melancholy, but I also have a deep sense of joy." And that's what Peanuts gave the world, not fake happiness, but real, gentle, imperfect joy today. Decades after his passing, the world still reads Peanuts. Children laugh at Snoopy's antics. Adults see themselves in Charlie Brown's quiet struggles, and somewhere between the panels, Schulz's soul still speaks, whispering to us that kindness matters, that failure isn't the end, and that even in sadness, there can be light. Charles M. Schulz may have left this world, but his message lives on, that being human with all our insecurities, dreams, and broken hearts is more than enough. So the next time you see Charlie Brown missing the football or Snoopy dancing on top of his doghouse, remember the man who created them, the man who turned his pain into laughter and his loneliness into love. He didn't just draw cartoons. He drew life. And perhaps that's why, after all these years, the world still smiles. Because Charles Schulz taught us how.